We're here today at the Labour Party conference here in Liverpool, on the waterfront. We're in Walton Youth and Community Project's mobile youth bus. It's being transformed into the Youth Zone's podcasting studio. We have April and Maisha from Youth Focus Northwest. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
So I'm April Beesman. I'm a member of Youth Parliament for Knowsley, which is in Merseyside, and I'm also a member of Knowsley Youth Cabinet. So across the years I've had involvements with other NYPs from across the UK, Northern Irish NYPs, Scottish NYPs, and we all work on campaigns together and conferences together. So it's a great sort of collective and uniting experience to be a part of in politics.
And just remind people who might not know what an NYP is, that is...
An NYP is a member of Youth Parliament.
Hi, I'm Maisha. I'm the chair of the Greater Manchester Youth Combined Authority, which is a collective group of young people from all 10 councils within Greater Manchester and 16 youth organisations. I work with charities across Greater Manchester, and I'm part of the National Youth Combined Authority, which is a group of young people from all the combined authorities across the UK. And I'm also working on the Youth Voice Advisory Group with the BYC and DCMS.
And we've got Libby Palambella who's going to ask you a few questions. Take it away, Libby.
How do you think politicians can help young people aspire and succeed?
I think politicians can help young people to sort of succeed in their roles by giving them a voice. We talked about this a bit on our panel before in the Labour conference. But how sometimes youth voice opportunities feel like just a tick-the-box activity. How sometimes young people, yeah, they're being seen, but are they actually being listened to? Are their ideas actually being implemented? So it's about politicians being active listeners and showing that they are taking on board what young people are saying, and we're seeing that physical and that lasting change within our communities. So as part of Knowsley Youth Cabinet, when I first joined, we had a campaign around knife crime, and we've seen our local councils getting involved with that and promoting the campaign. That's what we need to see in Youth Voice, and in general these councils work with young people and not sort of presenting a divide, because that divide, yeah, should be about their authority, but at the moment it's about them feeling superior to young people, and that should never ever be the case, because that discourages young people so much, and we're sick and tired of seeing it.
And that is bringing them on the same level, isn't it? It's like no one is overpowered of anyone else, isn't it?
Definitely.
If you could give them any tips, say 2 or 3 tips for politicians or people in power, whether that be youth workers who are consulting young people, or whether that's people from grant funders, what would you say to them to try and empower young people to have a voice? What can we do more?
So it's funny that you've mentioned that, because as a cabinet at the moment we're actually working on like sort of a set of instructions that we're going to hand to our local councils on how they can sort of be better sort of supporters of young people. But for me, I would say the best way for them to sort of support us is by coming into our spaces, because often we're expected to go to their council meetings and adhere to their sort of standards and their stereotypes, when actually if we're trying to present like a balance and a same level between young people and decision makers, then why aren't they coming into our spaces? They need to see how we work and how we act and how we implement change from our side in order for us to work fully together. Otherwise we're not going to get rid of that divide, and that's what is really the issue at the moment.
I think the main thing for politicians is they need to show a friendly face and be supportive. Often when you get involved within Youth Voice, and especially when you're meeting politicians, a lot of them look to you, they'll have a quick conversation and they'll move on to the next person and forget that you've existed within 2 minutes. We need politicians to really care about what we say, to really hear us, not just listen and then tick a box and move on. We need them to actually understand what we're saying and bring actions from that as well. Like, in order to really have a meaningful impact when it comes to a young person being in politics, a lot of the time we can't do much ourselves. We need adults backing us, so we need adults who really care about us to be backing us as well. And when you go into a young person's space, you're actively making that first step, which makes young people a lot more likely to take that next step with you.
What have you seen work, and what would you like to be in place?
So for me, those two sort of work hand in hand, because I have seen youth councils work, and yes, better involvement from the council would mean that that would improve. But I've seen the campaigns that I've been a part of actually make a difference. I would like to see more of a long-term difference. But at the moment, as a member of Youth Parliament, our campaign is called Food for Learning. So we're looking at taking the steps to ensure free school meals for all young people aged 18 and under, which, yeah, it will take time, and that's what I hope to see. But at the moment, we are seeing those steps working. So but at the start of the year, we hosted these dinners called Spill the Tea events, which was for young people to invite decision makers and local politicians and people in that sort of sector to come along and to try the school food, and to sort of discuss why this needs to be more accessible for young people, and how raising the threshold is something that we really need to look towards, because at the moment it is not as inclusive as young people as it should be, especially during the cost of living crisis. So that's what I'd like to see work, and that's what I'm hoping for the future. We've got next month we've got a House of Commons sitting, which is all around the campaign, and we're going to end up presenting a bill to UK Parliament, and I'm fingers crossed that succeeds and that we see real change coming from that and real people listening to us.
Maisha, what about your thoughts on that?
I think from my side, a lot of the work that we do within the Youth Combined Authority is advisory. So we'll have people who are invited within our meetings that will share what they're doing, a project or something, and we will offer them a young person's opinion, and they will take that away and they will build on their project using that opinion. And that's what really works. It's how you get youth voice out there. A lot of the opportunities I've been doing have also been the same. It's inviting young people into funding applications. I recently did one where I was the only young person on the panel deciding who would get funding to create a young person program, which seems silly because it's for young people and they only had one person who was making that decision. And that's what you need more of. You need to invite young people into places where decisions are being made in order for you to have effective youth opinion within your scheme, from the very beginning when you're first building it all the way to the end when you're doing feedback and figuring out what worked and what didn't.
And can I add on to that, Maisha? In Knowsley, I did a similar thing about sort of, discussing and deciding which organisations should receive funding and what didn't. And sometimes it felt like the pressure was being put onto me for me to decide these youth organisations, but actually I was looking at it from a young person point of view, and I could see that all these organisations sort of deserved the funding, and it was difficult for me to make those decisions. And I think that's why we need people working with us more to help train us on that and to help advise us on that, because ultimately, yeah, it is our decision. It should be down to us, and we need to be the ones that have more control in that, and not just you being on one board and me being on the other. It should be a collective.
If you could send a message to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. If I could send a message to my younger self, well, I'm quite a massive believer in, like, everything happens for a reason and in fate and things like that. So to me, I wouldn't want to change out anything, because I think every single thing that I've done, like even it comes down to the little things, has sort of had this like ripple effect and has made me who I am today. But if I had to choose something, it would probably be to just be even like more confident, because now I would class myself as quite like a comfortable and like confident person, but when I was younger I wouldn't. Like, I would not do things like this. I'd go really like proper red faced and like I'd stutter, but now I've come to realise that like actually we need people to be doing things like this. And I'm 16 now, but we also need younger people to be doing things like this. I'm talking like 11, 12-year-olds, because they are also young people and they also require having their voices listened to.
I think I definitely agree with you. Things have happened for a reason, and I'm very excited about where I am now. Wouldn't change anything for the world, but I think one thing I would say is how I feel. I'd tell my younger self to stop feeling so embarrassed about being involved in something like this, because none of my friends or family have ever heard about the youth voice sector or anything like this. And every single time that I talk to them, I have to go through this 20-minute spiel of what it is, what I really do every day, why I'm in so many meetings constantly, all online or in person. And when I first started out, I felt very embarrassed and very nervous to be part of it. I think if I could tell my younger self, I'd say, stop feeling like that. It's actually your right to be here. You are supposed to be here, and you need to keep demanding these opportunities.
Thanks for your time in the podcasting studio. If you could sum it up in one word, one sentence, what would you say?
It's worth its weight in gold.
I would say that it has shaped me into everything I am today. And I will eternally be grateful for all of that.
Brilliant. Well, I want to thank you on behalf of the sector for you pushing the powers to be to make a change and keep it going. And thanks for joining us at the Youth Zones podcast. And a massive thank you to the team at Walton Youth and Community Project for their dedication, their hard work and their commitment to changing lives for the better. A massive thank you to Citadel Policy and Communications, Jonathan Hopkins, Sean Hopkins for supporting the podcasting studio at the Labour Party Conference 2023.